Welcome back to Samara Builds. This is where I'm building a better life. I've talked about different parts of my life story and the ways that I've gone through those to help build my life in a better way. And today I'm talking about a religious journey for myself. If you are a loved one of mine, and just be honest with yourself, and if anybody saying anything other than extremely positive things about the Mormon Church offends you, please don't watch this. This is not meant to be offensive. This isn't an anti-Mormon video. This is my experience through the Mormon Church, and that's enough pre-explaining. So let's just get into it. I was raised in Utah in the Mormon Church, or I guess they prefer the full term of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But of course they would prefer I didn't make this video at all. I'm going to keep saying Mormon just because that's easier and I can do what I want. I was raised very Mormon. Like, our family read scriptures every morning as a family before school. We would go to church every Sunday, the full 3 hours. I went to all the primary activities, young women activities, everything. I went to EFY one time. I'm pretty sure my grandma paid for me to go to that. I would go to girls' camp every summer. My dad blessed us when we were little, and then when we were 8, we got baptized by our older brother. So cool. Like, we did all the things, we lived all the things. I wasn't allowed to wear tank tops ever or short shorts. Always at least a tankini, if not just a one piece. We didn't drink Coke in our house. We followed every rule growing up. And I was into it when I was little. It just seemed fun. And then when I was a teenager, I was like really into it. I was like a nerd about it. Like, I remember that I couldn't fall asleep at night until I had read some scriptures. And I was praying all the time. And I graduated seminary. I loved seminary. I just really bought into it all. Everything that they were saying made sense to me. Anytime I had questions that pop up, it often was met with a satisfactory enough of an answer. Even if the answer was just, you have to have faith, I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, I need to have faith. Like, that is my bad for questioning anything. And I've talked a bit about my mental health journey, and when I was young was when I started to be depressed. And when I was a teenager is when I started to self-harm. And it was when I was in the church the most, like when I was just so fully into it, is when I started to self-harm. And people outside of religion don't know how to react well to self-harming, let alone if you add any sort of like moral element to it, or like the devil at all. It just gets weird, especially in a religious setting. And so I was told things that I think people thought they were being helpful, but it just wasn't helpful. Like, I was told by several people that like that was the devil tempting me, and I was just listening to the devil's temptations. And so it's like adding shame on top of shame, on top of guilt, on top of shame. It was just a big fat shame sandwich I was eating every time I talked about it. And, through that, through my depression, through my anxiety, through things that were going on in my life, I just kept thinking like, well, I just need to live these gospel doctrines, follow all the rules. And they say that, in the church is the only place for true happiness. And so if I'm not having true happiness, I'm just not doing it right. I'm not doing it fully. But I was. At 14, I was like the strictest Mormon ever. And I was doing everything I was supposed to. And I was so depressed. And that's when like doubts started to really enter my mind of like, what? It just wasn't adding up. I was doing what I was supposed to. And I was just incredibly depressed. And I still, even though I had those doubts, I still was like, okay, I just, I'll keep going. Like, it takes time. I need to be patient. The Lord works in mysterious ways. A lot of mystery going on. The mysterious guy. But I'm just going to keep doing it. And I did. And then I graduated high school. I moved down to southern Utah. It was like the furthest I could get away. And I started going to other churches to see what they were about. I went with my friend Alec. Like every Sunday we would go to a different religious group. Usually, I think all of them were Christian. And we went to some weird ones. We went to some very anti-Mormon ones. And those always felt super uncomfortable for us because we both grew up that way. And we didn't want to we weren't anti-Mormon. We were just like, what else is out here? Like, let's see what else Christianity has to offer. And that was a lot of fun. And we had some really cool experiences. And then I got real depressed again. And I tried to commit suicide. So that was obviously a very extreme low in my life. And then I moved up to Washington State. And I was like, screw Mormonism. I'm just going to do what I want. Because a lot of my family members up there are not Mormon. And I was like, I'm just going to see what this is all about. And I moved up to Washington in the fall and stayed over the winter, which is zero sunshine. Not good for me. And I was drinking a lot of alcohol. Not good for me. And I was I had some couple good friends that were my saving grace during that time. But overall, it was just not, I wasn't I was I'm not Mormon, but I wasn't living a healthy life. I still wasn't living a life that was truly in tune with myself and my needs and goals and wants. I was just I don't know what I was doing. I was trying to escape my bad feelings with alcohol and distracting myself. And I don't even know what. That time is kind of a blur, to be honest. I actually tried to commit suicide a couple more times while I was up there. Luckily, it didn't work. Luckily, yeah, I'm still here. And then I came back down to Utah, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give this Mormon thing another full shot. I'm going to give it my all for 6 months, see what happens. And I did. I was a Relief Society teacher. I went to single ward activities. I was reading my scriptures. I was saying my prayers. I really gave it my all because I was I have nothing left to lose. Maybe this is really where I find happiness. And I didn't. I didn't feel the Spirit once. I didn't. At the end of it, I didn't see any benefits to my life. And so I was okay, self, we're going to have to figure this out ourselves. Because this whole time I had just been trying to follow paths that somebody else had placed. Mormon Church, drinking a lot, Mormon Church, going to other Christian religions. And I was well, I'm going to have to do this myself. And it's been great. And I'm really, for myself, happy to not be in the Mormon Church anymore because it just totally is not in line with my beliefs, my goals, my anything. And I say this story, I talk about my ups and downs, my doubts, but it actually was really hard for me to finally get to the point of leaving the church. I think people in the Mormon Church, or at least I used to see it this way, that if I if you saw somebody who like wasn't active or left the church, it was like, oh, well, they just like wanted to drink coffee and alcohol, and they just didn't have like the willpower to follow the Lord's commandments. And that's not it. I don't know anybody who left the church so that they could drink coffee and alcohol. I don't know anybody that left so they can wear tank tops or not go to church on Sunday. Like, so many people I know that have left the church really miss the community aspect, miss going somewhere on Sunday with a community to sort of remind yourself to like be a good person. And a lot of people I know that left the church still don't drink coffee and alcohol. You know, everybody has to follow their own moral compass when they leave, which is terrifying, because up until now you've been told exactly what you need to do to like get to heaven, where now you have to question whether you believe in heaven or not in the first place. It's a huge, terrifying thing. And I had older brothers who had left the church, but I didn't know many people my age. It was fairly isolating, especially at first. And like I said, it was a really hard decision. It was very complicated. I still hold on to a lot of guilt. Like, there are still some things that I'm processing through that I'm like, oh, that's actually not my belief system. That's the one I was raised with. And I still hold on to guilt about wearing short shorts or whatever. Sometimes I still have those feelings. But the biggest thing for me, and I think that this is like such, like, this is a big reason for a lot of people that like they really question whether they should leave the church or not, even if they don't believe it anymore, is like the eternal family aspect. So my mom was Mormon, died when I was 5. And so for like so much of my life, I thought, oh, I have to be good. Like, even when I was 9, I had the thoughts like, I have to be good so I can be in heaven with my mom. That is a lot. That is a huge burden to bear as a child and as a person, to think like, even if I'm moral, even if I'm still a good person, if I'm not following these set rules, I won't get to be with my mom in the afterlife. Like, that wrecked me for a while. Just that thought of like, well, what if it is true? Even though I don't believe it anymore, what if it is true, and for the rest of eternity, I don't get to be with her? It's really not, in my opinion, cool. Like, that is so manipulative. To say you have to stay in this religion or you don't get to be with your family for the rest of eternity. If you believe in a loving God, I don't get how you can believe that. Because if God is all-knowing and loving and omnipotent, omniscient, He knows my heart. He knows that I am a good person right now. I follow my own moral compass. But even though I'm a good person, oh, sorry, you don't get to see your mom. Like that, I just don't believe it. I just don't. Sometimes I don't even believe in an afterlife. I kind of talked a little bit about that in my ketamine experience video. It's kind of funny because, like, I don't know that I believe in God. Sometimes I really just believe that the universe is apathetic. But I do believe in guardian angels. I do feel my mom sometimes. I do believe she's out there helping us out when she can. Even if you showed me irrefutable proof that that's not real, I would just be like, well, I still believe it because it makes me happy. And that's okay. I mean, look at her. How could she not be an angel? I think another misconception that true believing Mormons have about ex-Mormons is that, like, well, somebody offended them and that's why they don't go to church anymore. And sometimes that is the case. And then Mormon people will say, well, that's just that person. That's not the religion. But the church also breeds a certain environment based on its rules and talks and discussions. That doesn't just come out of nowhere. And yeah, there are bad people in every organization, right? But not every organization breeds toxicity. Like sometimes I think the Mormon Church does. I have witnessed it. I've been part of it. I've experienced it. I've probably been on the bad side of it, like judging other people. But, as far as like leaving because somebody got offended, it's usually so much bigger than that one thing. Like that could be the straw that broke the camel's back. Like I know people who it's just been little things over the years that accumulate until they get offended at church or whatever. Somebody says something negative, and then that's like their last straw. It wasn't my last straw, but it certainly was hard when I was doing everything I was supposed to, and people would say hurtful things like, harming yourself is just the devil tempting you, and you're just listening to that. And when I did try to commit suicide, somebody said to me, well, just so you know, all your feelings follow you to the afterlife. So it's not like you're going to be less depressed there. Like, thank you. That was a weird one. And I also just want to say I have friends and family who are still in the Mormon Church, and I love you so much. If you are the person that hurt me through the Mormon Church, you're probably not part of my life, or we have at least have had conversations about it. If you're still in my life, I love you so much, and I'm grateful you're here. I'm grateful that you are choosing the path that, like I said, is just going to help you be the best person. With all of this said, there are some things, like I had some great experiences in the church growing up, and there were times that I felt this spirit in church or church activities when I was growing up, and I was thinking about that the other day, and all the ones that I can think of either had to do with love or music, and those are like universally great things. Like, of all the things in the universe, I believe in love wholeheartedly, and music is obviously amazing, transcendental, healing. It's great. And there are some other things I grew up with in Mormonism that I take into my life. Like things like family is super important. And whether that's your blood family or the family that you create for yourself. And, taking care of community and your neighbors. I love that. That's something I'm still trying to get better at and work on, but I think it's so important. Taking care of your body. I don't follow the word of wisdom, but I have my own word of wisdom. I do my best to take care of this vessel, this sacred vessel for my soul. Once again, I don't even know if I believe in a soul, but I believe that I'm incredibly fortunate to have this body that works so well, does pretty much all the things I want it to do. And I have not been so nice to it over the years. And so I'm definitely on a new path of really treating my body with kindness. Like I said, I grew up in the Mormon Church. My experience is with Mormonism, but I do have a hard time with just religions overall. Like, what gives anybody the right to tell another person how to dress, who to love, what to eat? Like, case in point number one, I love the LGBTQ community. I am part of it. I think it's dumb to tell people they shouldn't be able to get married when they love each other. That's just stupid. Like, why do you care? Sorry. This is like why, honestly, why do you care what other people do in their houses if they're not hurting other people? I don't get it. Like, I think that these are all things we need to find out for ourselves. And like, if you are part of a religion and it genuinely is making you the best version of yourself, like if it's truly adding to your happiness and adding to you being the best person in the world that you can be, bravo. Like, hell yeah, I am your biggest supporter. But like specifically like with the Mormon Church, they have so much money. Like, why are they hoarding it? Like, I'm the kind of person, I think being a billionaire is unethical. Just bar none, hands down, it's unethical. The church has $100 billion. And I know they do a lot of good in the world, but like, why are they not doing more? Why are they hoarding that money? That is weird. Like I said, I'm not anti-Mormon. I'm just like anti-establishment of like telling other people how to live. And maybe you're like, you're the pot calling the kettle black. You have a YouTube channel all about building a better life. Yeah, this is how I built my better life. I'm showing you that maybe you can do it. I'm not saying to you, if you don't do this, you're immoral and you're not going to go to heaven with your family. I'm just saying, these are some ways I'm messing up along the way and figuring it out, and you can too, buddy. Leaving the Mormon Church was terrifying at first. And like I said, I had to figure out my own moral compass. And through that, I have made a lot of mistakes. I've had a lot of ups and downs. It certainly wasn't the end of my depression, but my life is so much more full and rounded. And I just really feel liberated to try new things, experiment with my personality, with what I wear, the people I associate myself with. And because of that, I have made such deep and wonderful connections with people. Yes. The Mormon Church teaches you that you will only find true happiness within the church. And I'm just here to say that that's not true. I have found so much happiness outside of the church while still being a good person, living a moral life, being more in tune with myself, with my body, with nature. It has been the best thing for me, and I'm so happy from it. I'll probably do another video on this topic at some point because I still have more to say about it. But that's my general overview, my story. If anybody has any specific questions about my journey or about the Mormon Church, let me know. Like this video, subscribe to my channel. I'm always trying to build a better life. So let's keep doing that. I'm so suave and not awkward at all. Thank you guys. Bye.